I'm so happy you said that, because that leads us right into our next topic, which I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for it. Guys, the great Eagle, LeSean Shady McCoy, will be likely, I don't think he's going to latch onto a team this year. Maybe as a veteran presence, maybe as an injury replacement for the Bucs or something. But currently a free agent, which means I'm thinking this is probably his last year. And I think he knows it too, because he's kind of talking that way. He's been talking a lot more to the media and talking about his career and talking about all kinds of subjects. So let's just assume one thing here. We'll assume his career is over. That makes him eligible for Canton in 5 years. So that's 2026. Guys, is Shady Hall of Fame bound? And I want your responses first, because I'm going to blow you away here.
No.
Okay?
He's a Hall of Fame Eagle. He is not a Hall of Fame running back.
Tell me why.
Shady, to me, isn't a franchise-altering running back. He's a good running back, even great. You could say I don't think so. No, he's just not. He's not franchise altering. Like when he went to Buffalo, did they ever make the playoffs?
That team was.
I mean, like when you think of LeSean McCoy, like you're like, oh my God, the greatest thing happened. You think of the Snow Bowl game, the Lions. Like that was his. That was one of the best games I've ever watched.
I'm not counting on a running back to get me into the playoffs. Like look at Adrian Peterson.
He did it in 2012,
which he did several times, but. I mean, there were many times where they didn't make the playoffs, too, in his prime.
I know that.
That's not the running back's job for me.
I understand
That's
what you're
the
saying.
quarterback.
My thing is like, I know he's got great stats, yards per carry and all that. To me, though, he's just not a whole... Like, I don't look back at, like, all the great running backs and I'm like, yeah, LeSean McCoy.
So this is an eye test thing for you?
Yeah, like, just off my eye test, that's, like, he doesn't, like... He wowed me with his juke moves and things like that. Like, he was electric, like, but he's just not a Hall of Famer.
Here's his type. He was an elusive back. He might have been one of the greatest ever in terms of
I'll tell you right now, he's not better than Brian Westbrook.
Brian Westbrook even said he's better than him.
Hell no. I don't know what Brian Westbrook's doing in his retirement.
He's very honest.
Yeah, Brian Westbrook is better than LeSean McCoy.
No way. But that's okay. You're allowed to have your opinion.
I would take Brian Westbrook over LeSean McCoy,
I'm dying to hear what you think,
100%.
Nick. I'm dying to hear this.
Okay. So
because
is LeSean McCoy a Hall of Famer?
Yes. And that doesn't mean it's got to be first ballot. It doesn't mean second ballot. Like, tell me if you think he's ever going to get in. There's 28.
You think McCoy's better than Westbrook over, like, as a whole?
Yeah.
Do you really?
Definitely. And I love, like, they were both favorite players. Like, I absolutely admired Brian Westbrook. I loved him.
He's one of my favorite Eagles ever.
Awesome. Me too. And he's such a nice guy too. So, I mean, and yeah, he's got a better story, I would say. Like, he came out of Villanova, for Christ's sake.
Well, I'm not even saying so much of that. Like, I could just off of eye test, like, he had better hands. But, like, he was just awesome. I loved him.
Nobody thought that Brian Westbrook was going to be who he was, because he was a third-round pick from Villanova. So, shout out to him on that. He was definitely the underdog of the two. But Nick, I'm waiting to hear your opinion. I really am.
I'm going to sit back and enjoy this.
I need to know this.
I'm going to be honest with you. It's a no for me, because my thing is impact, right? Like, we're talking impact. If I looked at the Eagles roster when he was on the Eagles, and I'm like, all right, well, we're playing against the Eagles. I'm not like, oh shit, like they have a Hall of Fame running back in McCoy that we got to worry about. Like,
I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, that's fine. You can be sorry all you want. But the bottom line is, I don't think he's a Hall of Fame running back, because, like I said, there's only 28 of them in history. And shit, if you're going to put him in the Hall of Fame, you could put Clinton Portis in the Hall of Fame.
I mean, I loved Clinton Portis. So
he was the shit, bro.
I loved him, but
he was
longevity,
the most unstoppable running back in Madden.
Shady had a longer career than him.
2 years.
And a more effective prime.
2 years.
For sure.
2 years.
His prime was much longer than Clinton Portis's. Clinton Portis started going downhill after he got traded. He had a couple good years, but...
In Washington, that was a Hall of Fame show. For me, that's a Hall of Fame career. I mean,
for how many years, though, in Washington?
He was there for at least 7.
No, I'm saying, like, how many of them were, like...
Who was his quarterback?
Wow years to me.
You want me to tell you right now?
I do.
I could tell you how it happened.
I want to hear it.
Yeah, wait. Who was his quarterback?
Because Nick, I'm going to need more from you. I got so much here for Shady.
Please,
I'm going to need more from you before I get into it.
I'm here to argue. So my point is, if you put LeSean McCoy in the Hall of Fame, you have to put Clinton Portis. Let me give you some numbers. He's got 9,923 career rushing yards, 75 touchdowns in 7 years. And I'm sorry, 9 years. He averages 1,000 yards a season, right?
Portis?
Yeah. Averages 1,000 yards a season, about, 9 touchdowns a year?
He was a touchdown machine.
That's good numbers. So
I loved him. I mean, you don't got to sell me on Clinton Portis.
So my thing
He's
is,
not a Hall of Famer, but I loved him.
He's not a Hall of Famer, but why is McCoy?
Eagles bias.
No
exactly.
way.
Eagles
Not
bias
even a chance.
1,000%
It's
right now.
100%.
I
Mike.
can't wait for this. Okay, I mean, if you're not done, by all means, keep going. I got a long list for you. I got a long list.
To be honest with you, I don't need to say more. He's not a Hall of Famer.
Period.
Bottom line. I don't think he is.
Enjoy the island.
I don't think he was appreciated enough. And this is not, as an Eagles fan, I don't think he was appreciated enough by anybody. Nationally, nothing. I don't think he got as much love as he should have.
But just because he
But it's
wasn't
gonna trickle out.
appreciated, just
Go ahead,
because he
Mike.
wasn't
Let me hear your
appreciated,
stats. I wanna hear
Oh
your
no,
stats.
he was underrated.
Let's hear it.
He was underrated and underappreciated.
Let's hear it.
Where should I start?
You tell me.
I got a long list. Because brother,
too.
you're gonna change your mind after this.
Doubtful.
Okay. First thing first. When you make the All-Decade team, you make the Hall of Fame. I mean, literally. So let me give you the list. Okay. Here's the All-Decade team. Hold on one sec. Hold on. Where did I have it?
Yeah, hurry up, dude. I got to take a piss.
Yeah, me too.
Let's talk about it. Yeah, let's talk about it.
All right, while he's looking up these stats
here
that
it
are going
is.
to prove nothing.
It was Adrian Peterson, Frank Gore, Marshawn Lynch, LaShawn McCoy on the All-Decade team for the 2000s decade, okay?
Say that again.
LaShawn McCoy, Frank Gore, Marshawn Lynch, and Adrian Peterson made the All-Decade team.
Okay, there's 2 Hall of Famers in that conversation. Adrian Peterson and Frank Gore. Period.
I agree with that. I agree. But I have to say this, though, okay? Hold on. Best of the decade. So, generally speaking, number one, if you're the best in the NFL at any position for a 5-year period, you usually get in. But if you're the best for a 10-year period, you're like a mortal lock almost, okay? Most people would probably assume, let me ask you a question. Who do you think, I mean, just opinion-wise, it could be stat-wise, tell me who was the best running back of the 2010s decade. I'm probably going to guess that you'll say Adrian Peterson, right?
Duh.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the only answer.
And his career, I mean, he started before the 2010s, so you're not going to believe this, guys, okay? Shady has him beat. 2010 to 2019. Shady led the NFL. 10,434 rushing yards. 13,923 scrimmage yards. He led the NFL in both. That's more than Adrian Peterson, guys. That's my first stat. Anything? Nothing? Crickets?
Well,
Okay. What's next?
But
He had almost 2,000 more scrimmage yards than any other player during the decade. Than any other NFL player, not just running backs. He had almost 2,000 more scrimmage yards than all of them.
he also had Jeremy Maclin, Deshaun Jackson, and Andy Reid.
Adrian Peterson was by himself.
What's that got to do with anything? They didn't
lot.
have a fantastic offensive line.
LaShawn McCoy in 2012 was not running the Vikings to the playoffs.
They had probably the best power running scheme in the NFL.
Who?
The Vikings.
Simply because of
The Eagles were a
Peterson.
spread team. They were a pass first team for sure.
So that should have opened it up the game
exactly.
for
Does it, though?
LaShawn.
Sure
Hell
does.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Because he's done.
Mike.
He did it with Nick Foles. He did it with Michael Vick. Like, what did it matter? Like he did it regardless of quarterback. I mean, the Eagles' offensive line wasn't, let's say, 2017.
You didn't
caliber.
need the game plan for LaShawn McCoy, though.
How not?
No, you had a game plan for him. He was very
This guy
dynamic.
Was,
I'm
this
not
guy
gonna
was
take that away from him.
arguably the most dangerous guy on the second level. On the second level of the field.
I'm not going to come up here and shit on LaShawn McCoy.
No,
I'm a fan
I'm not
of him.
shitting on him. I'm
a
just
big fan
saying-
of him. He's not Hall of Fame for me, though.
Yeah, like I
When I look at
don't.
a player, I'm like, oh, he's Hall of Fame. Adrian Peterson, Hall of Fame. It's just automatic in your head.
Yeah, like to me, when you said, like when we were joking the other night when we were texting, and you said that, like my first thing, I just replied back, no. And then you went into your whole little thing, but we don't have to go there.
I saved my summary for tonight because I'm not even near done. I'm at like point number 1, and I'm gonna give a shout out to to Reuben Frank here because he pulled these stats out, and trust me, he is the least biased Eagles guy that exists. This is a Rube thing here. I'm not arguing with Rube; he's always right. So, but here, I'll give you his overall stats where he stands with all timers. There's 28 running backs in the Hall of Fame. Okay, his career yardage, 11,102 career yardage, ranks 22nd in NFL history. He's 26th in carries, and he's 28th in total touchdowns, which I thought he would actually be lower on that list because, I mean, obviously he had a couple years where he had the 1 year where he was over 20 touchdowns, but like his touchdowns were kind of all over the place. So that was the one thing like I thought might hold him back. But overall, it shapes up just fine. 28th in the league. So, I mean, that's got to count for something. And like I said, 28 running backs in the Hall of Fame. Those are some pretty good numbers right there. So he's like right there. Okay. I mean, do you want to say anything to that?
Well, he was first team All Pro 2 years, 2011 and 2013. I mean, being a first team All Pro is pretty like legitimate, you know. So it's a tough feat to.
So I'm going to add to that too.
So my thing is, it's like, all right, 2 years, but he played what, 11? Like, I don't like the stats are good, they're great, cool, but there's, like I said, there's only 28 Hall of Fame running backs ever.
Because remember,
so
like,
I think like the threshold is like
high.
It's high,
Yeah,
right?
the standards are high for
exactly.
a running back. Yeah,
when because then you're putting LaShawn McCoy in the same plethora of running backs like
in the history of the NFL, like
Barry
he's one of
Sanders,
the best.
Walter,
Yeah.
like,
and I don't see
it's
that.
not even.
well, here's the thing though, guys. Remember, we're talking about the voters. This is what the voters vote for, and I'm gonna have to reference what you just said. First team All Pro twice. He made the Pro Bowl 6 times. There's only okay. Let me just read this to you. Let me read it word for word. Of 18 eligible running backs who made 6 Pro Bowls, the only ones who aren't in the Hall of Fame: Don Perkins, who had 8,000-yard seasons with the Cowboys in the 60s. Okay, right?
Don Perkins.
And Mike Allstott, who was a fullback. He was a fullback.
That's my guy.
Those
though.
are the only 2 exceptions who didn't make the Hall of Fame after 6 Pro Bowls. The only running backs who didn't make it after 6 Pro Bowls. It happened twice, and these are guys like, come on, like, do you think Mike Allstott was a Hall of Famer? No, of course not.
Does the Pro Bowl mean anything?
It does to the voters.
No,
It does.
But people vote.
That's
bullshit.
pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy.
People vote their favorite player even when they have a down year. So does it really matter? If it was voted by the league,
No, it's like a popularity.
You ready for
contest.
this?
if it was voted by the league, I would have more respect for
Yeah.
it.
We're not done yet, though. We're not done yet. So back to the All-Pro part. The only eligible running backs in the last 50 years who made the All-Pro team twice and aren't in the Hall of Fame are Allstott and Priest Holmes, whose career was cut short.
I love Priest Holmes. I still got his jersey. Jersey. Shout out Seamus.
So let me ask you a question then, Mike. Are you taking LaShawn McCoy over Eddie George?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
I got his jersey too. I love
And I
Eddie
love Eddie
George,
George.
dude. I loved
Eddie
Eddie
George.
George.
But
He made me a Titans
You
fan
just,
when I was
you
a
just
little
heard the
kid.
stats.
dude.
I'm giving you history
On
here. Like,
Sega Dreamcast.
2 guys didn't make the Hall of Fame with these numbers, and I'm not even halfway through my list yet. I got more for you.
You could save it because I don't think he's a Hall of Famer, brother. I just don't give a shit. Like, I just don't think he's a Hall of Famer, dog.
I know, like that's
He's-
what I'm saying.
he's
Though.
now-
I know stats wise, you can make the argument. Just for me, for eye test, like he's just not. I could tell the
How
story of
not?
running backs without LaShawn McCoy.
Yeah.
How not? I'm confused. Like how he doesn't pass the eye test.
Because
This
I
guy,
think,
this
like,
guy escaped contact better than anybody. Like literally, like this guy was untouchable on the field. Literally, the most elusive running back in the NFL for 10 years. He was more elusive than
But it
Adrian
didn't really
Peterson.
add up to
Adrian
anything.
Peterson was a mix of power and speed.
it didn't do anything though.
How not? These are some of the best offenses in the NFL over the decade. And then he goes and he does it in Buffalo, which was a train wreck. That team was trash.
And he didn't do anything to improve them.
Bro, like we said, like, that's not the
Vikings
running
were
back's
trash
job.
with AP.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, but you can make
That's
them
not-
better.
But they went to the
Adrian-
playoffs with Adrian Peterson.
But they
He
did it
ran-
several times too.
Zeke with the Cowboys.
Mike, how'd that do them this year when Dak went down?
Okay, though, but that's what I'm talking about. Like, like
It might get you to 8-9 wins, right? However, that's not how we're getting into the playoffs. It helps. Don't get me wrong. Like, this is an elite player, but Adrian Peterson, like you said, he didn't. I mean, he literally, figuratively carried them a couple of times, but
That
they
was
missed
one of
the
the
playoffs.
best things I've ever seen.
They
That
missed the
was awesome.
playoffs a handful of times.
yeah, but he was still
I-
running for ridiculous amount of yards.
I got another one for you. So, thanks to his 2 rings now, yes, he was a backup, and it doesn't matter because remember, look, I don't give a shit if he was backup. Like, yeah, did he earn those rings? Not in the 2 places he did. He would have earned one in Philly if he got one in Philly, but he didn't earn it. I'm saying if he got one, hypothetically, he would have earned it.
You confused me. For
But yeah, no,
like, huh?
I'm not saying Philly. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
no.
for real.
But
I
I'm
was
saying
what?
like rings count in the voters' eyes. Rings count, right? Peyton Manning got one literally in his worst year. He got a ring, and they counted, right?
That's a little bit.
So let me
that's
give you
context.
no. Let me give you.
Context.
Let me give you. So here's the context for you.
But rings don't matter with running
It
backs.
matters with the voters.
Don't even mention
So
these
he's
2
now
rings he's got that he
he's
barely even suited
now
up
one
for.
of only 4 running backs in NFL history with 2 Super Bowl rings and 6 Pro Bowls. The others: Franco Harris, Emmitt Smith, Lenny Moore.
The problem
The
is
Hall of Fame committee takes that in consideration.
know,
He
but
was
it's
on a winning team.
I know, but it's a bogus stat.
Yeah,
he
and
didn't do shit on
Us,
those
but
teams.
I'm saying he's getting in the Hall of Fame. That's my case,
but not for nothing,
right?
bro.
I'm
when,
building a case right here.
when
So
ring night
that's
comes-
a bullet point.
I like it.
when,
Keep going.
when ring night
I'm
comes,
not done with you yet. Don't
going.
worry.
when ring night comes, he's going to go to the Deptford Mall and go to Piercing Pagoda and get his. He's going right to the kiosk because he didn't do shit for him. He didn't play 1 snap.
Nick, let me,
It's fucking crazy. Though.
I'm actually just kind of shocked by that comment. So let me reel it back in. Let me reel it
I
back
was
in.
not expecting
Piercing-
that.
Piercing Pagoda. That's where he's going for his rings, bro.
Oh my god,
He's picking him up at the country farms.
Oh my god.
that's funny.
Let me reel it back in. I gotta reel it back in here. Back to the all decades point, though. Okay. The only running backs named to an all decade team since 1940 who are not in the Hall of Fame is Byron Whizzer White from the 1940s, and he only played 3 years. John David Crow, who made the 1960s all decade team despite averaging 453 yards per season in the 60s. Literally, every single running back since then who made the all decade team is in the Hall of Fame.
Not this one.
So wait,
He's not this like this. This is a trend. Like this is you have to take note of this. This is a legitimate case here. I'm not even done yet. Shall I keep going? No, Nick. I actually want to hear what you just said to that.
so
I'm talking about the voters. He is literally okay. There's only 2 guys who didn't make the all-decade team that were running backs since 1940, and they're literally nobody that you and I know.
you can add LaShawn McCoy to that list too as well, brother, because he's
I'm not
in the
hearing
Hall
any.
of Fame.
I'm not hearing any fighting here. I'm not hearing any pushback.
You're on the island, man.
I'm happy to be on this island. I'll retire pretty. I'm gonna be laying on a stack of cash on this island.
That's great, man. But
if I had the money to gamble,
I think you're
I'm
gonna die on that
guaranteeing
island.
you. Let me say this: he is guaranteed to make the Hall of Fame. I'm not even done the list yet. Guaranteed. Look at me. He's a guarantee to make it. I'm not even done my list. Next on the list, 8 times in his career,
What's wrong with
guys.
these cats?
8 times. Psychotic and iconic. 8 times in his career, he took off for a 40-yard touchdown in the 4th quarter. NFL record. Clutch. Adrian Peterson only has 7 of those. Nobody else in the history of the game has 4. Nobody. Shady. The clutchest? Oh, who thought that, right? Who thought that? That's a guy who puts his team on the back, right? Mm-hmm. Does that surprise you?
I'm just surprised that you have him as a senior Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I can't get past that.
I'm literally perplexed. I can't believe it.
Confused.
It's not far fetched, but like you're really convinced that he's a Hall of Fame running
Now,
back.
here,
Like when
hold
people
on.
say LaShawn McCoy, I don't think they think Hall of Fame. I think
Because
they think
he didn't get
was
enough
above
respect.
average back. He was
He
above.
didn't, he didn't get enough respect.
But
He didn't
you
get
need-
talked about enough.
But you need respect to get in the Hall of Fame.
But he was legitimately the best running back in the league one year, and he was the best running back of the decade. Fact.
He was not
Fact.
the best running back.
Wait,
of
wait,
the
of
Of the
Oh, wait, whoa,
2010s decade, he was the best running back. Adrian Peterson, like I said, his career started before 2010, so he had a few years. If you told me from 2007 to 2017, Adrian Peterson's the best back in the league. But from 2010 to the end of 2019, Shady was the best back in football, and it's statistically true.
Okay, so who you taking career-wise, Adrian Peterson or LaShawn McCoy?
Well, I'm going to take AP.
Why?
But they're both getting in.
Why?
Because he was just better
What do you mean? LaShawn McCoy had better stats.
for that decade. Like I said, 2007, 2017, Adrian Peterson's production is going to be better than Shady's from 2010 to 2019. Although don't quote me on it because I could actually be wrong. I could be wrong. I don't have it in front of me, but I'm just saying they're both getting in. Frank Gore's getting in too. You're going to tell me Frank Gore was better than Shady? Was Frank Gore better than Shady? Honest to God.
That's not
Throw longevity out the window.
If I said Frank Gore, I'm not like that's not a crazy.
He's a Hall of
But
Famer.
was he better than Shady?
He's a Hall of Famer.
I'm asking you a question. Was he better than Shady?
I'm going to take him over Shady.
Was he better than him?
In terms of what?
You sound like you're
Elusiveness?
struggling to say that he's better.
What are you
Wait,
actually
hold on.
asking? Are you
Hold on.
asking
They're
if
both going to get in. So who
Is
was the
Fra-
better running back?
overall running back?
Who was better to you? The fact you got to think about it just tells me this guy is a Hall of Famer.
I'll
No.
take Frank Gore.
You're thinking about a Hall
think
of
Frank Gore
Famer
had a
versus your quote
fantastic
non-Hall of Famer.
So here's the thing.
They're both getting in.
I think Frank Gore was better. I just think Frank Gore was suffocated in San Francisco when they were bad.
The problem with Frank
Frank
Gore
Gore
is,
got more carries.
The problem with Frank Gore is everybody's so clouded of his entire career because of his last
I'm not.
6 years or so because
Yeah.
he was on 1-year deals.
Frank
with
Gore was a
teams.
stud. He didn't get enough love either. He's just getting recognized now.
That is 100% accurate.
true.
But
He's
this is what I'm
finally getting
saying.
recognized.
It's the same thing. We're going to be talking about Shady in a few years. We're going to be talking about it when the debate
Yeah,
comes
not
up
making
for
the
real.
Hall of Fame.
Bro, I don't know what you're smoking. I mean, you hear what I'm...
Sour.
Listen. Next up on the list, his receiving numbers, because he was an all-purpose back. This is a 3-down back. This guy could catch the football, too. During his 12 seasons in the NFL, Shady led all NFL running backs with 518 receptions. That's the 15th most catches all time by an NFL running back.
Okay.
He's one of only 7 players in NFL history, not just running backs, with 10,000 rushing yards and 500 catches, and one of only 2 with an average of 4.5 or higher. Roger Craig comes to mind, right? Who are some legit dual threat backs that come to mind? Give me a few that come to your head that are in the Hall of Fame. I mean, because
There's not many in the Hall of Fame.
Is Roger
That's my
Craig
point.
better?
That's my point.
But
It's
that's what makes him so
But my
dynamic,
thing is
too.
you could tell the story of the running backs of the NFL and leave LaShawn McCoy out of there.
Exactly.
Like, you don't have to bring up LaShawn McCoy to...
But couldn't you do the same with Frank Gore, too, in that same note?
No,
Because largely irrelevant nationally. It's not fair. I don't agree with
it's
it.
just because he's not flashy. That's all it is. Like, LaShawn
But Shady
McCoy
was flashy.
Exactly. And that's why he's getting buzzed for the Hall of Fame right now, because he was flashy. And he called
was,
himself
but
shady.
the
Very
production-
elusiveness.
He was literally, I mean, I don't see how you don't say it just off the eye test. What most people would think is, eye test, this guy was fucking phenomenal, but
He was.
they don't realize the stats, too.
No, he was an awesome player.
I love
But
LaShawn
I just
McCoy, dude.
don't-
I'm an Eagles fan.
But like I said,
He created something out of nothing more times than not. This guy rarely got any negative yardage. He rarely even got hit. Second level on the field, though, look out, because he's getting there every time. He's missing tackles, so he's getting to the second level. Goodbye, he's gone. That's just how it was. I'm calling it how I saw it. I'm calling it how it was statistically.
All right, so you just said Frank Gore. Would you take Shady over Sean Alexander?
Yes, I would.
oh yeah, I would too.
Edgerrin James?
And most people would say Sean Alexander was better than Frank Gore. They would say Edgerrin James was better than Frank Gore too.
I love
Frank
Edgerrin
Gore's
James.
So did I.
I loved Edgerrin
I'm just
James,
telling you
man.
I'm telling you how it is. Curtis Martin though, dual threat back. He's in, right?
That's what I'm looking
Was
at.
Shady better than Curtis Martin? Give me your opinion. I say yes, and I'm not even thinking twice. He was better than Curtis Martin. He was better than Roger
Curtis,
Craig.
my favorite Martin.
Curtis Martin was good. Dude.
Come on, I'm building a pretty damn good case right here,
No,
aren't I?
I'm not saying you're not, but like
I'm not even done yet. I still have more.
my thing is, it's like
More.
You want it?
My thing is, you want
Pause, fam.
Big pause. You want
it?
it?
You want it?
Yeah. Oh my God, that will never get
I'll
old.
hit you with the best one, the one that, like, besides the all-decade stuff, because that's like, it makes it seem like a no-brainer he's getting in, just based on what the voters say. The voters say he's getting in off of that. But I'll hit you with this one because our judgment here, I would say the thing that stands out most, the stat that stands out the most for a running back is yards per carry, right? If you're averaging the most yards per carry, you're the best, right? That's the way you measure a running back, right?
Okay.
Where do you think he stands with that? Yards per carry.
I think I read this.
Is
Is it 7.2?
what?
No.
7.2 yards a carry?
No,
Shit, he'd be in my Hall of
I
Fame.
know. I meant.
He'd be in Nick's Hall of
Did you
Fame.
mean seventh in history?
Yes.
Because you're correct there. He is seventh in
Yes.
NFL history among running backs with 2,000 career carries with a 4.52 career
I knew-
yards per carry. Career. That
yeah.
includes
I know
all
that
of his shit years, all of his fucking shit stats at the end of the career. Those ones count
read-
too.
Where does
That's
Clinton
exactly
Portis
what I
rank?
read.
I'm not sure. I don't have it in front of me. Mike, you want to pull that up? But I got to tell you
What am I
something.
looking up?
Clinton Portis.
Yards per carry, NFL history. Clinton Portis will probably be up there.
But
But Shady is seventh on that list.
Because it's like
Seventh.
Clinton Portis is not a Hall of Fame running back, but like his stats are almost kind of comparable to LaShawn
And wait,
McCoy's.
get this. You guys, your GOAT is LaDainian Tomlinson, right? That's your GOAT running back. That's the
4.4.
He's absolutely.
Is he the best running back in
4
NFL
point,
history?
yo, 4.4 for Clinton Portis.
So there you go. Better than Clinton Portis, like I said.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Shady was 4.52. No big deal. That's better, like I said. Now hold on.
7.2 yards a carry. Oh my God, I'm
Yo,
shot.
it
I'm
felt
so
like that
shot.
sometimes. But listen. LT's your GOAT, right?
For me, he is.
I
He's
just
the
don't-
best running back in NFL history to you guys.
that I've ever seen.
I
Yeah,
said
for
Barry
me.
Sanders.
I used to love Barry Sanders.
Best running back in NFL history.
I had his blue jersey.
Tell me your best running back in NFL history.
LaDainian Tomlinson.
LT.
So there you go. And also, let me put this out there.
Hold on, time out. Before we get crazy, LT was the best that I've ever seen.
That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Personally seen.
That's
I've
all
never
I'm
watched
saying.
But that's
Walter
okay.
Payton. I've watched Emmett, but he was at the tail end of his career.
So here, let me give you something about Emmett. Emmett's the rushing yard leader, right? Up until just recently. He was the all-time leader in rushing yards. Hold that name. Walter Payton, also regarded by many as the best running back of all time. Hold that thought. Eric Dickerson, right in the conversation. Probably below Barry Sanders and Walter Payton in the conversation. Okay? Let me remind you something. Dual threat back. Marshall Faulk, probably the best dual threat back in NFL history, right?
Marshall Faulk was the man, dude.
he was the beast.
I forgot about
Hold that thought. Tony Dorsett, dual threat guy, right? Of course. Earl Campbell, another one who's definitely regarded as one of the best running backs of all time, right? You guys may not have seen any of his footage. I have watched a ton of it, but he was like the power back, okay? Before the Adrian Petersons of the world. He was the guy. He'll run your ass over, and he did it for years.
Okay.
Okay? What I'm getting at here is Shady's yards per carry mark is higher than 29 of the 40 running backs already in the Hall of Fame. Remember, there's 28 that were post, like the modern era. So 40 that are in the Hall of Fame, 28 in the modern era, and his yards per carry mark is greater than 29 of them, including the guys I just mentioned. Emmitt Smith, Walter Payton, LT, Eric Dickerson, Marshall Faulk, Tony Dorsett, Earl Campbell. And you mentioned, listen, there's 4 guys you could argue as the greatest running back of all time in that sentence. And then the best all-purpose guy in Faulk. And Shady's got a higher yards per carry than all of them.
And he's still not a Hall of Famer.
Tell me why.
Because here's my thing.
Why? I need facts.
I'm going to tell you why. It's public perception. 100%. When people say names like Earl Campbell, Walter Payton, Barry Sanders, they're thinking
They're goats.
fucking goats.
They're legends.
Right? When you say LaShawn McCoy, he was a good player. That's it. That's it.
I know.
That's literally
But
the
then,
conversation that
If you're
that is
using
had.
that argument, how is Frank Gore getting in? Using that argument. Because no way he was talked about. How's Frank Gore getting in?
Longevity, 20 years
Well,
almost.
Shady's got the longevity too. His
20
stats are
20
better.
years? No, his 16 years, almost 15 years.
Who?
And he's got like
He
Frank
might be
Gore?
on 18 for
Yeah.
that matter. I don't even remember the
Yeah.
number because it just keeps going, and he's ageless. But that's my point, though. I'm using the same argument
Frank
you're
Gore was
saying.
drafted in 2005.
You guys think
2005.
Frank Gore is getting in, so I'm using the same logic, and I'm asking you the same question. But you say Frank Gore is getting in, and Shady's not. And I just clearly, like, Frank Gore is not even comparable to Shady, other than that he played a few more years. Right?
That's-
this is a real case, and I have one more point for you, actually.
That's debatable, man, because
I got one more
Frank
point.
Gore has been pretty good throughout his career, man.
But listen,
So,
you guys
I
couldn't
don't
tell
know.
me emphatically that
Two different
Frank
players.
Gore was better than Shady. You guys both paused, long pause, by the way, when I asked you who was better of the two.
because it really depends on what kind of back you like, right? Like me, I like the elusive guy.
But I'm talking about as
I like
far as
elusive
who
guys.
was better. Period. Facts. Better.
But it
Shady.
it
That's a
comes
hard
down-
comparison. It's two different running
it's two
backs.
different. It's two
But you
different
say
running
one's
backs.
getting in the Hall of Fame and one is not.
Because I think Frank Gore is better.
But you had a problem with that a few minutes ago.
No, I was thinking about it. Like, I just can't say it right off the top. Like, that's exactly who I think. I just had to think for a minute.
But you
because
had
it's
to
like,
think because literally
But I'm not.
Shady's case is better than Frank
No,
Gore's, and Frank's getting in.
I'm saying LaShawn McCoy. Like, I get what you're trying to say. That like all his stats are screaming Hall of Fame, Hall of Fame. I just like for me, he doesn't. To me, like I.
It's public perception.
Yeah,
I'm
like
telling
I'm
you,
trying
man.
to say, like I could go back and talk about football and not say like, oh my god, remember what LaShawn McCoy did?
But we're not going to do that with Frank Gore, though, either. That's the point I made.
I think you are though, because now he
We're
has the
going to talk about
longevity.
Frank Gore as a piece of history, other than the fact that he's like a meme now. It's just like
crazy.
Frank Gore is ageless.
Dude, people
That's
still
it.
have Frank Gore on their fantasy team.
He's a meme.
When you need a quick fill in.
Shout out Seamus. And myself too, because I had him on my roster.
You had injuries.
yeah.
Other than that nice long resume I just
Nick had
gave you.
injuries.
Tired legs.
Yeah.
Fucking disgrace.
Other than that nice long resume, which was a fucking resume. That's a resume, guys. Shady's getting in off of that alone. And I didn't even give you the number that's probably considered the most by the voters. Okay? Pro Football Reference's Hall of Fame monitor considers all players at every position, measures their Hall of Fame chances based on a bunch of metrics, comparing to past Hall of Famers, and they assign them a score. Okay? And they compare them to Hall of Famers at their position. Shady's Hall of Fame metric score, 83.14. Every running back in NFL history with a score that high is in the Hall of Fame. Every single one. Every single one. And that monitor doesn't even count receiving stats. Every single running back with that score got in. He's getting in, guys.
Do you think he's a slam dunk?
Slam dunk. I'm not saying first ballot, but he's a slam dunk to get in. It's going to happen. He's getting in. Whether you like it or not. And you can say whatever you want about telling history. This case is done. It's case closed.
I just don't think that when the ballot comes out, people are actually going to select LaShawn McCoy
Yeah.
as a Hall of Fame running back in 4 or 5 years. Like, I think there's going to be other names on that list that are going to be more appealing than LaShawn McCoy.
I want a real case against him.
And
though.
again,
when we
it comes
visited,
down to public perception. That's how I think it's an eye test, man.
That's what I'm
really
saying.
is
like
an
I know
eye
you're
test.
throwing out all those stats, and I get it.
And
it's
he
just
was
for
a
me.
great
It's just
player.
like
He was awesome, but he wasn't franchise altering to me. Like Adrian Peterson is a franchise running back.
well, guys, I mean, it's
like you
speaks
didn't
for
trade
itself.
LaShawn McCoy to the Bills, and everybody's like, oh my god. There's like, okay, he's gonna go die in Buffalo.
Well, it was
Yeah.
just rated as the third worst trade of the decade.
They traded him for a dude with 2 bum knees.
Well, that's not our fault that Chip Kelly's a moron.
Kiko Alonso, yeah,
And then he leaves the Eagles and goes to Miami and was ranked like
was awesome after that.
was like a top 5 linebacker. For
I mean, with flaws, but yeah, he could play
Yeah,
to a degree.
yeah.
It's
But point being,
definitely-
guys, this case is closed. Listen, Phil, put the camera on me real quick.
Don't do that.
I mean,
please.
it's not even close, guys. I'm waiting for an argument against this. Let's revisit it in a few years.
Okay.
I'm waiting for a real case against this.
We'll see who's around.
You give
a
me
decade
some
from
real.
now.
You
I
give me
just gave you a
numbers.
good case.
You didn't. You give
I
me your
said Clinton
opinion.
Portis was actually kind of comparable. He had
Put
9,000
this
rushing
back
yards.
on me, Phil. I want it back on me. Case closed. Till further notice.
Thanks for watching that clip of the Psychotic and Iconic Sports Podcast. If you want to watch the full episode, it is available on our YouTube channel. Please like, subscribe, and also hit the notification bell to get updated when we drop new heat. Be sure to check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We will be releasing an episode every Friday at 8 a.m. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you next time at P&I.